Hello everybody, welcome. My name is Will and I've met all of you before in the interview stage of this course. We're sending you this video via email, it should be as a YouTube link, just to give you a little bit of preparation and a bit of background. This time next week, roughly, our training course will be kicking off with our formal modules starting the following week. So what we want to do in this week, what we're calling week 0, is give you guys a bit of an introduction to the module and to what you can expect in the module and the kind of things that we are going to talk about. Now in future, our module content and material will not be emailed to you in this way. They will be delivered via our virtual learning environment, which is a website called Canvas, and I will be talking to you about that today and giving you a demonstration as to how it works. But for this first one, we thought it would be easier just to send it to you as a YouTube video, which you can watch in your own time. So let me start quickly by giving you a bit more information about myself. Next week, following our launch event, very much looking forward to everybody getting to know each other as well, not just as staff. It'll be an opportunity for everybody to get together and you guys can get to know each other. You're going to be working quite closely together on aspects of this course. But a bit of background about me. As I said, my name is Will, Dr. Will Megarry, you can call me Will. I am a member of ICOMOS Ireland. I am originally from Dublin, but actually live in Belfast at the moment, where I am a senior lecturer in Queen's University Belfast. My specialist area actually isn't so much climate change, although it's what I'm doing huge amounts of research in at the moment and working at the moment. I'm actually a geospatial person, so I work a lot with mapping and remote sensing and GIS, although as I said in recent years, my interests and my research focus has very much switched to this aspect of climate change and heritage, which we're doing in this module here. I also have an interest in wider heritage things, so heritage management, questions of tourism and tourism management. In my spare time, I very much enjoy cooking and I'm a keen rugby fan. Where I'm from in Ireland, rugby is a pretty big thing, so it's something I like doing on weekend. And my role in this course is as the principal investigator. Now what that means is, while there are a lot of people involved in the delivery of this course, and you will get to meet many of them over the next few months, my role as principal investigator is I am the primary contact point between this project and our funders, and it's my responsibility to make sure that the project gets delivered, and then once it has been delivered, to make sure that we report back correctly to the funding body. So that's kind of one of the reasons you've been hearing from myself a lot, and one of the reasons I am doing this introduction. Although, as you will have noticed, your actual course coordinator for this is Dr. Heron, and he has been in contact with you and will continue to be in contact with you about this module. So what is the point of this course and what are you going to learn on it? Now, usually in kind of university settings, we call this question, what are our learning outcomes? And that means that by the time you have finished this course, what would you hope to have achieved? What would you hope to know? Where would you be? And what would you have learned that you didn't already know? So at the end of this week, what I'm very much hoping that you will have learned is how this project is structured overall. This training course is a central part of this project, but it is not only what we're doing on this project. There's more to it than that. And I'm going to talk you through how that works. And those of you who looked at our website will probably be quite familiar with some of that already. As I said, the majority of our content in the training course will be delivered to you via a virtual learning environment. This is a website where you will be able to go in and look at videos and read content and engage in conversations. And we're using a VLE, or virtual learning environment, called Canvas. And I want to just very briefly give you an introduction to that. You will hopefully also, after this lecture and this week, have a much better understanding of what we're going to be covering within this course. So what are we going to look at each week? how is it going to be structured, what you can expect from us as your teachers, and what we should be able to expect from you as our participants in this course. In this presentation, we're also going to introduce some key people involved in the CVI Africa project. And when we meet next week, we'll also have an opportunity for us all to meet each other in person and have a bit more of an informal chat. As participants in a course like this, you will get the most out of it if you put as much as you can into it. Now, we have been very cognizant and aware of the fact that we are all professionals and we all have jobs alongside this. So we have attempted to limit the amount of work that we will expect people to do on this module and that we would expect each of you to do. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But having said that, there are certain roles and certain things that you will be expected to do to be part of this. And this is all part of the learning experience of being part of this module, that we learn in very different ways. It's not just about listening to lectures like this, it's also about engaging, it's also about assessment, it's also about communication and doing things practically, hands-on experience of actually doing things and organizing things. And that's going to be quite a big part of what this module and what this course will do. We'll also, as I said, next week, you'll have an opportunity to ask us any questions. If before that you have any specific questions, please do feel free to email myself, and you have my email, or to email Dr. Heron, and you also have his email. And you can really ask us anything at this point. There's only 6 of you involved in the core aspect of this course. However, there is going to be a larger group of people who will have access to some of the lectures, but they will not be engaging in the kind of assessed and more intense parts of the course. So also, probably you'll have people asking you what this course is about, and if that is the case, you can feel free to send them to our website, or there's also a very handy one-page overview, and I've put a picture of this on this slide, but you can also download this from the Canvas VLE, and I'll show you where that is now in just a second. So our training course is based on an approach called the Climate Vulnerability Index. The Climate Vulnerability Index was initially developed by Dr. Scott Heron and Dr. John Day, who are partners on this course. And it is about reflecting and responding to the single greatest threat facing our World Heritage and our World Heritage sites. Now, of course, climate change does not only affect our World Heritage sites, it affects a far broader range of sites. But our World Heritage sites are perhaps our exemplars. They are perhaps examples of other types of heritage. And they're also very important globally, nationally, and locally. They're often important parts of economies, communities, people's religious and ideological backgrounds. So they represent a crucial category of heritage sites that is important to help us protect against. And key to that protection is understanding what the threats and what the impacts are. So the training course today, and what we're going to do over the course of the next few weeks, is based around teaching you the key parts of this Climate Vulnerability Index process. Okay, it's a process that will start with ensuring that everybody has a good understanding of heritage and cultural heritage, and it will then move through questions about climate literacy and understanding climate literacy, and then it will get stuck into understanding the individual sites, because in order to understand the vulnerability of sites, we have to understand what it is about them that is vulnerable. And while traditional vulnerability assessments have focused very strongly on the materiality of sites, so that might be the destruction of extant features, walls, buildings. The CVI does that, but it also goes a step closer to take into account the cultural and economic dimensions of sites as well. And if you're interested in finding out more about this CVI right now, there is a link in the Canvas page where you can go and you can follow it, and you can take a look and read up about the Climate Vulnerability Index on their website. So the project as a whole, the CVI Africa project, was launched in December last year. It will run through to December this year. And it comes really in 2 key parts. The first part is what we're starting here. which is training in vulnerability assessment with 6 heritage professionals from the continent. And that is you. We initially picked 6 because we wanted to make sure we could resource this project effectively and properly. And having 6 would allow us to cover quite a high level of costs and allow us all to hopefully get together in person for the part 2 of this project, which are the workshops. Now, COVID and the current global pandemic situation now makes that rather challenging, but we decided to stick to this cohort of 6 people just so that we could really do this project well. We wanted to deliver it properly. We want to make sure that each one of you gets the most out of it. The training course, as I said, will launch next week. The content will probably officially start in June and July. And following that, and during that, you will each get involved in the organisation of a CVI Climate Vulnerability Index workshop. So as we explored in the previous slide, the training component of this module, the part 1, is built around understanding this CVI process. So in a sense, what we're going to learn about remotely and online through Canvas and through formal lectures in the next 2 months is the kind of book learning, the theoretical learning, like you might do in a university course. And then part 2 with these workshops is the more hands-on and practical aspect of things. So while we're still working on the logistics and the practicalities of these workshops, we're going to invite you to be involved in the process of organizing these, to join us on the journey. And we've chosen 2 sites for this. The first site is the ruins of Kilwa Kisiwani and the ruins of Sangomar in Tanzania. And the second site is the Sukur Cultural Landscape. And these sites were chosen because they represent very different types of heritage sites and are good opportunities for us to test out and trial this CVI methodology. So in part 1 then of this training course, how will you actually learn? Well, as we've already discussed, the CVI Africa training course will be delivered remotely. That means that we are not going to have the opportunity to all come together face to face in the same room, at least not for part 1 of this course and probably not for part 2. There will be 9 units in the training course, and these run over 9 weeks. And each week will address a different topic, and we'll explore what those topics are in the next slide. We say 9 weeks, but you will notice that it starts with week 0, which is the week we're having here, which is really just an introductory week, a week just to allow us to get our bearings, learn how to use the online portal, and get to know each other. And week 1 will be where the primary module content actually starts. The course is being delivered using a technique called blended learning. What blended learning means is that there's a combination of both pre-recorded content, like this lecture, which I am recording a few weeks before you're probably actually going to listen to it. And there will also be some scheduled live sessions, which will happen over Zoom, where you will be expected to participate and contribute in a live face-to-face, albeit digital fashion. So this is what we call blended, because it's blending the kind of pre-recorded section of learning with live sessions as well. Now, we are all in different countries. And many of the people delivering this course are actually on different continents. So Scott and John are in Australia, Ishan and others are in North America, and then there's some of us in Europe as well. So whereas the weeks won't change, the timing of these live sessions will change. We will always endeavor to make sure that they happen within normal working hours so that people can attend and can contribute easily. But because of the time differences of the people teaching different parts of the course, they are likely to change week on week. We will hopefully in the next week give you more detail about those timing each week so that we can organize our times accordingly. In some units, there will be recommended readings, and they will be quite clearly communicated to you on Canvas with links for you to follow. There will often be core readings, which we will expect you to have done, and then also some recommended readings, which if you are particularly interested or you have time, we'd like you to try and read as well. In some weeks, you will be required to undertake some basic assessments. Now, this is not going to be every week, and some weeks they will be very, very light. They will usually refer back to your own personal experiences, and they are a key part of our learning journey. Assessment is where we take information that we've learned in lectures and we transfer it into knowledge, which is information in practice. As I mentioned previously, we are very aware of the fact that all of us have other commitments outside of this course. So no week should require more than 5 hours of your time. And in reality, it'll probably be 4. And most of that you will be able to do in your own time. So that might be on a commute to work, or in the evenings, or on your lunch break. The only live parts will be these live scheduled sessions that will happen every week. So just to give you an example of what this week is going to look like, you will have roughly 1 hour of pre-recorded videos that will include this video that you are listening to now, and a number of short welcome videos from other partners on the project. There will also be roughly 1 to 2 hours of recommended reading, and these are not all academic articles. Most of them in this case are news reports or online blogs, so they should be quite accessible. We're then scheduled to have a 1 hour live face-to-face meeting on Zoom on the 25th of May. The current time for that is set at 12 UTC, but will be confirmed closer to the date. And then there's also an opportunity to have an online chat via the Canvas forum, which I'll show you in just a session. And that will be the sum total of what week 0 will look like. A blended mix of pre-recorded lectures, independent learning and reading, face-to-face, and then engagement online with each other. So you're going to hear a lot about Canvas. Canvas is our virtual learning environment. Some of you might already be familiar with Canvas or other VLEs, for example, Moodle or Blackboard. Different universities use different VLEs, and we are using one called Canvas for Free for Teachers, which is a free-to-use VLE which suits the needs of this course very well. It can be accessed on standard desktop computers or on your mobile phones, so it's very scalable, and that means that it's flexible and will allow you to engage with the module in different ways in different places. We will use Canvas to share videos of talks and lectures, to provide links to allow you to download articles or to follow links to web pages that we would like you to look at, to have discussions as a group. These will not be video discussions, these will be text discussions where we can all feed into these online blogs and forums about what we're thinking. And we'll also probably use Canvas to submit some of your assignments. So allow me please just to share with you the Canvas so that you guys can see what it looks like. You will at some point in the next few days receive an email from Canvas telling you to log in and register. When you do that, you will see an option for a CVI Africa course, and when you go in, you will see this introduction and welcome to the CVI Africa project. Now, each week, as the material goes live, another unit will be added here. So soon you will see week 1, then you will see week 2, then you will see week 3, okay? Within each unit will contain all the things that are part of that week. So in this unit, this week, there will be welcome videos from different people who are attached to the course. There will also be recommended reading. So if I click in here, you will see that there will be some essential reading and some optional extra reading. Now you will see that under the essential reading, I have given you links to things like online blogs, BBC, right? And then some of our own internal literature on the project. So these are not dense academic sources. These are things that you can read at your leisure in your own time. For those more interested then, I've also provided some optional extra reading, and these are maybe more intense, more academically focused sources, including an article from last year on African heritage and climate change, and a recent review article, which was only published last week. Okay, it's still only a preprint, so you can have a link there to go and see it. You can either go forward or back to look at things, or you can go next and previous, and it will allow you to go through. This is where I will post a copy of this video. And I've also given information about who the project team are on here. So if ever you're wondering what somebody's role is, you can come here and you can take a look at it. So from principal investigators to in-country partners, to our expert consultants, our colleagues Scott and John in Australia, to our international project partners, including ICOMOS, Historic England, and various climate science related. You can also then go through, and this is where I've given you the option to download our one-page overview. So you can download that if you want to by clicking here, and you can share that with people, or you can print it out and stick it up on your office door or really wherever you want. And then we also in here have a discussion where I'm going to ask you just to think at quite a high level how climate change is impacting your country or your region. We can then go home, we can go back here, and that is the total of what we're going to cover in week 0. And as I said before, in next subsequent weeks will appear here as they're ready to go live, and you will be able to engage with these. So the aim here is to give you a flexible, blended way to engage with the course content. So what is that content? Well, like I said before, there are 8 primary weeks in this module. Now, in this case, you will notice that there are 9. The final week is a feedback week where we're just going to get some feedback from you about the project. And week 0, which is what this video is a part of, is really just an introduction to the training. You will notice here the individual topics. I've included a primary learning objective. There will be numerous learning objectives to each week, but this is the primary one to give you an overview of what you'll be learning this week. And then you'll also see that each week has an individual coordinator. And these are the people who will communicate with you about this topic. So you will see down the right that we have a range of unit coordinators which reflect the different topics that we're teaching you about. So in the World Heritage topic, we have Dr. Ishinlosa Naduaya from ICOMOS, Nigeria, who's an expert consultant on heritage and world heritage. And then for climate science, we have colleagues who are climate scientists, so from Historic Environment Scotland and also from the Union of Concerned Scientists. On the topic of climate heritage, which is the intersection between heritage and climate change, we have the coordinator of the ICOMOS working group on the topic and the founding member of the Climate Heritage Network, Mr. Andrew Potts. And then when we get down into the practicalities, the actual process of the CVI technique, this is where Drs. Day and Heron take over these core weeks to look at the different steps involved in this. Then finally, we're going to, the last week is where we think in more detail about the workshop. This is preparing us for our 2 workshops, and that will be led by Professor Jane Downs from University of Highlands and Islands, who was very involved in a previous CVI workshop on the Orkney Islands in Northern Scotland. So you will see here that each week has individual themes. Those themes prepare you for the CVI, then take you through the CVI project into the preparation for the workshops before we eventually have some feedback. So it builds on each other. One topic builds on the next topic, builds on the next topic, builds on the next topic, which is why it's important to make sure that you keep up to date with the individual topics. I've mentioned before that this course will involve some assessment. The purpose of this assessment, like I said before, is to transmit and transfer the information that you will learn in this course into knowledge. So assessment does not test what we've learned. Assessment helps us to learn. And that's why you will find that each of the assessments that we do in this course are going to be very practical. In most weeks, there will be a small assessment. It should not take you a long time. It will usually be based upon your own experiences and the information provided. Usually, it will relate to the World Heritage property that you discussed or mentioned in your application. This is one that you will be most familiar with, and so therefore, it should be more straightforward to do these weekly assessments. After weeks 4 and 8, there will be 2 more major assessments, okay? These are larger bits of work, but they're not huge. They're not enormous. They're not going to take a massive amount of time. And because these are slightly larger, they will build on the weekly assessments, but also require you to put in a little bit more detail. And we're still finalizing exactly what these will look like. So then, that's part 1. That's the workshop. We've been through what you can expect to learn in the workshop, the individual topics, how it's being delivered, and how it's being assessed. Part 2 then relates to the workshop. And I've put a little box in the corner down here. We have a phrase in this part of the world where we talk about the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is the enormous thing that everybody knows is there, but nobody wants to talk about. So in this case, for us, that is, of course, COVID. And this means that every time we make a plan about these workshops, something changes. So we have to remain very, very flexible. There are 6 of you, and each of you will be put in one of 2 groups, 3 in each group, and that group will be assigned to one of the workshops. So 3 of you will be assigned to the Kilwa Kisiwani workshop, and 3 of you will be assigned to the Sukur workshop. You will then be invited to take part or to attend steering groups and steering committees for each of these workshops. Some of these committees will have 8 people. The other one has slightly more, and they are made up of both in-country and international experts. So the international experts are drawn from people who are part of this project, and our in-country partners are key people in the heritage sector or associated with these individual sites. The purpose of these meetings are twofold. The first is that they are practical. They are about how are we going to organize these events? Where are they going to be held? What time do we have lunch? How many people come and who should be there? But they're also about collecting information prior to the workshops themselves. And we're doing this by having a series of thematic webinars. Now, a webinar is basically just a seminar that happens online. But because of the risks associated with COVID and the high probability that there will be travel restrictions for both international and in-country participants, we decided to have 3 webinars that explore the 3 key parts of CVI. And you will notice that each of these topics corresponds quite clearly to the topics of the training course. So the current plan is that in June, we will have a webinar which will be led by people, climate scientists, and people who understand impacts of climate change on these 2 sites. We will then have a webinar the following month looking at heritage values. Why are these sites important from a heritage perspective? What are their outstanding universal values? What are their other heritage values that make them important places? The subsequent month then, we'll have another webinar looking at the socio-economic values. How important are these sites to tourism, if at all? What do these sites mean to their local communities? Do they have religious, ideological, nationalist values? Because understanding these values is important to thinking about how climate change impacts them. So each of these webinars, you will be invited to attend to take notes, and you might also be asked to help organize some of them as well. And like I said before, the dates and the times for these are still being finalized. Each of these webinars will also be recorded, and many of the people presenting at these webinars will also be asked to submit papers on their topics so that we can collate this information together prior to actually hopefully having a workshop where some people will be able to be there in person. So like I said before, the CVI Africa project team is very diverse. A project like this needs to bring together lots of people from all over the world. And while the CVI Africa project at the moment is quite focused, really focusing training on a small cohort of people and at 2 sites, the plan is that this is something in the future that we can make bigger. So the project team reflects that. You can see all the members of the project team either on the Canvas website I just showed you, or on our own website, the cviafrica.org/team. But I just wanted to share with you the key people who will be taking and giving parts of the units and the individual units. And you'll get very familiar with most of us over the course of the next few months. So what are the next steps? Well, what I would like you to do sooner rather than later, please, is log into Canvas, make sure that you have access to it. If you do not, or if you're encountering issues, let me know, and you have my email. Read some of the resources and contribute to the conversation, that online conversation which I showed you. We will be having an informal meet and greet next week following the project launch. And that will be an opportunity for you to ask any further questions or to get to know each other. Watch out for emails from unit coordinators in the coming weeks, and watch out for emails from Canvas. Sometimes these can go into your spam or into other mailboxes. So please keep an eye out for them. You guys, it's really your responsibility to make sure you are up to date on information about the course. And also, it's very important to stay in contact if you're having issues with attendance or you're struggling to find time to do the course content, okay? These are very strange times, and it's very important that we stay in contact, that we know if things are working or not, if there are problems that we know about it too. We have not run this course before, and we are being forced to run it in a way which I think is good for the long term, but is going to be challenging in the short term. So you guys need to let us know if there are any issues, and then we can address these. And it's always true to say that if you are having a problem, somebody else is probably having a problem too. So the first person to let us know, the easier it is for everybody, including ourselves. So finally then, thank you very much for listening to this whole thing through. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you're excited. I hope you're not nervous. We're all very nice and approachable people who really want to help and make this work. So if you were nervous or worried, just get in contact and we can arrange to Skype or have a Zoom or have a chat. This project has a lot of partners, which is one of the things that is going to make it so amazing, and the content is going to be so great. And it's also just important to acknowledge that we are able to deliver this project because of funding from the UK government, in particular, these funding bodies on screen. So thank you very much. I look forward to getting to know you and learn with you over the coming months, and hopefully one day us all being together and being able to chat about it in person. Thank you.